Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Schlesinger. I am the director of the Hyatt Career Center, and we are very excited today to be presenting Will Your Resume Make the Cut? Our speaker today is Monica Fochtman. She is the owner and founder of Sheldrake Consulting, a career coaching and consulting company. Monica is a certified career coach, professional resume writer, and Myers-Briggs leadership consultant. She helps clients find and tell their career stories so they can get unstuck and pivot to their next big thing. She provides resume and cover letter writing, interview coaching, and candid feedback on leadership development and career advancement. She earned a bachelor's in English and master's in higher education administration from Boston College, and her doctorate in education with a cognate in women and leadership from Michigan State University. She is also an adjunct faculty member at Grand Valley State University. And so we are very excited to have her here today to talk to everybody and the Brandeis community. While we begin our webinar, if folks have questions they would like to address to Monica, you can use the chat panel there and go ahead and address them privately to me, and I will take note of them and feed them back to Monica, and we will address them throughout the program, as well as at the end. There'll be a time for a live Q&A with Monica. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Monica.
Great, thanks, John. Can everyone hear me okay? Just very quickly. I can hear myself, which is a good thing. So good afternoon. Thank you everyone for being here on a sunny March in March Madness. As John indicated, my name is Monica Fochtman, and I'm thrilled to be here with you talking about resumes and to offer tools and strategies for helping yours make the cut. John, if you could go ahead, please, and launch poll 1. I'd love to know who is here today. I'm seeing lots of people signing in and saying hi, and we'd love to know just a little bit more about you. So we'll give you a couple seconds to click on that and let us know who you are.
All right, it looks like we have most of the votes in, and we can go ahead and share the results for this. We have about 70% of those checking in today are alumni. We have a couple of current students, faculty or staff member, welcome, thank you for joining us, and a couple of friends of the Brandeis community.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Oh, great. Yep, I see it. Fantastic. Thanks so much for doing that, John. Appreciate it. All right. So we just did launch poll 1. And then if we could, John, launch poll 2 and just tell us where in your career you are.
And go ahead and use the poll function that has just opened up in your window. Give folks another couple of seconds to wrap up. You a new professional, early mid-professional, mid-career, or late career? Great, and let's go ahead and share those results. So it looks like the bulk of folks checking in today are mid-career professionals, 5 to 10 years out, as well as a good chunk that are in the late career stages, 20 plus.
Awesome, great. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that, and hopefully we will address content that works for everyone who's here today. So thank you. So you are likely here because you are at some stage of your job search process, and maybe you're confused or unsure or unclear about just what the heck to do in 2019, because it is a little bit different from even just 5 years ago. And you are in the right place because we will address all of those fears and concerns today. Unfortunately, there is a tiny bit of bad news for the 2019 job search in that there is no magic formula that will get you to the next place. Your resume alone will not get you a job. 75% of resumes are never read by a human. And once it does get to a human, that person will spend approximately 6 to 8 seconds doing a quick visual scan of the document and then deciding what to do with it next. The good news is that you have taken the time for yourself to be here this afternoon, and we are going to talk about all of those things. So today you will learn about 2019 job search tools and trends, how to update your documents and what to include in them, and tips and strategies for creating a job search strategy. As John indicated earlier, my name is Monica Marcelis Fochtman, and I am a career coach, certified resume writer, and have been certified on the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator instrument for about 15 years. I started my company, Sheldrake Consulting, because I saw too many people underestimating themselves and not explaining their skills and accomplishments in the best possible way. I help people find confidence in their search so that they can survive and thrive during this job search transition process. So John, if you could go ahead please and launch poll number 3, and if we could just get a quick indicator of where the audience is in their search.
All right, so it looks like the bulk of people are currently actively searching, which is good. So you're in the right place.
Absolutely, yes. You are in the right place. Great, thank you. And even for those who indicated not searching yet, it's great that you're here as well, because the best time to be ready is before you have to be ready. And one could also argue that really we are always searching for the next opportunity and should always be networking and prepping. So great, thank you everyone. Okay, so 2019 trends. You may have heard about ATS. Your document, so your resume and your, which we will talk about a little bit later, need to be keyword optimized for ATS. It needs to be formatted for digital viewing. That means good, clean, white space and easy on the eyes. It should read unique to you and to your accomplishments. A lot of times we especially those of us who identify as women, tend to downplay what we have accomplished, and our resumes read like job descriptions instead of unique to you and what you have accomplished. We'll talk about that as well. You need to have good font choice. Again, the layout should be clean with good white space, and color should be used very, very sparingly. There are some industries, communications, tech, social media manager type roles where color is okay, but you should never have more than 2 on the document. And the document should match your personality and your industry. So what is this ATS thing? ATS is short for Applicant Tracking System. It is an online tool, an online screening tool used by companies in an effort to save recruiters and headhunters and hiring managers time and money. It is also supposed to create a smooth experience for you as the applicant. Basically, it's an online tool that scans your documents and their posting for a match. And then once your document has reached whatever threshold the company has set, then your document advances to the next round of the process. So how do you find the keywords? Keywords are industry specific, would sometimes even be listed as skills or tools in the actual job posting, and would be software that you've used or any kind of data processing tool. So some examples might be SAP, ERP, which is short for Enterprise Resource Planning, SaaS, Six Sigma, cross-functional is a big keyword that's out there right now. So what you want to do is scan the posting for those keywords and then start to populate your documents with them in the appropriate places. Okay, John, if you could go ahead and launch poll 4, please. I'd love to have you share with me the status of your resume.
All right. It looks like we've got most of the folks who have their resume, they feel it's updated and ready to go. Not an uncommon thought. A few folks that have indicated they need some help, and some that recognize that it's perhaps a little too long.
Great. Thank you. And for those of you who are updated and ready to go, awesome. And maybe even today you'll learn something that you can go back into and add to your document. So thanks everyone for sharing that. Okay, why does your resume matter? Your resume is your brand on paper. It is your opportunity, and in the digital space as well. It is your opportunity to tell your story. It is the place where you can and should differentiate through accomplishments and to back up your story with data. Again, it's not a repeat of your job description. It is a targeted window into a specific period of time that reads unique to you. Too often we have a tendency to speak about ourselves in generalities. This is the opportunity to brag, because it is not bragging, it is data that backs up your story. Okay, so the top 1/3 of your document is prime real estate. Again, you want to get it past the ATS to a set of human eyes, and you want that person to have a quick read on who you are and what you can offer. So the way to do that is to create a header, which includes your name, your email, your customized LinkedIn URL, your phone number, and maybe your location. And we can talk about that as well. If you are searching locally and you being local is an advantage to your application, then you should absolutely include your physical address. If it is not, then you should remove your local address. Especially at this point in 2019, the world is virtual, the world is global, and it is very easily to identify where someone is located. So a physical address on your resume is not always necessary. Then after you have the header, you will write a profile or summary statement, and that explains what you have done so far and how it relates directly to the role that you are seeking. And then after that, you will lead with the skills and expertise section. So resume tip number 1, customize and add your LinkedIn URL. You must be on LinkedIn, which we will talk about towards the end of our time together this afternoon. You can find jobs and apply for them on LinkedIn. And recruiters, HR personnel, hiring managers will search for you on LinkedIn after they have received your resume. So you need to customize your LinkedIn URL and put it into the header of your resume along with your email and phone number. Here are directions on how to customize that URL. LinkedIn defaults to some version of your name and then dashes and then a whole slew of numbers. So this screen shows you how to go into the back end of LinkedIn and customize it so that it's a version of your name. If you are a person who has a very common name, some strategies might be to include a version of your street address or the year that you were born, or perhaps the year that you graduated from Brandeis. Okay. Resume tip number 2, replace your objective statement with a summary or profile. Again, this is 2019 and objectives are obsolete. At this point, it is clear that you are using the resume to search for a job, to search for a promotion, or to network, or to perhaps join a board. So at this point, you don't need to tell the reader that you are looking for a job because they know that already. So use that prime real estate to remove the objective statement and replace it with a summary or a profile. This is an example of a summary. Your summary is your pitch. It is your elevator speech. It is your brand statement on paper, and is an opportunity to tell the reader who you are, what you've accomplished, and the value add that you bring. So this particular client was an electrical engineer with 10 plus years of industry experience. So mid-career, that experience was progressive in domestic and international markets. Okay, ERP, here's an opportunity to put in those keywords from the posting. And then what does this person do? Okay, they reduce costs, they save time, and they build and inspire teams. Okay, and John, I see a question. So I will go ahead. Hi, Jessica. Hi there. The profile summary has come in and out of style. Is this a personal preference or more of a way to include keywords? I would actually suggest that hopefully, Jessica, you are still there and you can hear me. I would suggest both, that this is a personal preference that I have as a certified resume writer. And it is a way to include keywords. Like I said, the top third of the document is really prime real estate. And so it's an opportunity to get as much in there as you can, and also to inspire the person who's doing the reading to keep going into the document and dig farther. Okay. Another example of the summary at the top, again, an opportunity to match your skills and qualifications to the position that you are seeking. And it's really important that when you write the summary that it matches who you are personally, but also the industry that you're in and the career level that you are in. So you'll notice this one is a bit longer. It's a full sentence longer than the previous one because this person has 18 years of progressive experience, so 8 more than the example before. And part of what we wanted to accomplish in this particular document was to demonstrate her readiness to pursue more advanced roles with more responsibilities. And why is she ready for that? Because she's been rapidly promoted before based on results delivered. Okay, and again, an opportunity for more keywords, operational efficiency here, morale, turnaround situations, accelerating business growth, talent identification. Okay, so those would have been keywords pulled directly from the posting. Okay,
Monica, before we go to the third tip, someone had a question about the format for the summary.
Okay.
They've seen it in other forms, I am or I have done, and we're wondering if you had a preference or suggestions about how you begin those sentences.
Yeah, great question. Thank you. My personal preference would be to write I am, but I know that that's actually not usually okay in the industry. So what I do is I encourage people to write it in first person first, because it's easier to talk about yourself that way. And then once you feel confident in what you have on there, to flip it to third person so that it's as if someone is talking about you. So I'll just quickly go back to this one. So we could say Monica is a business development and operations leader with 18 years of progressive experience across healthcare verticals. She has a career history of rapid promotion based on high performance, etc. So, so what I do is first person first, and then cut out the first person pieces and leave the rest. Looks like there's another question there, John, maybe? If we want to address that one as well.
No, I think we're good for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so on to resume tip number 3. After you have your summary, you should add an expertise and or a skill section, and sometimes both. So expertise is broad categories, and again, with keywords pulled directly from the posting. So you'll see up on the right, expertise would include business operations, strategic planning, staff training and development. Here is also a place where you would include cross-functional teamwork, especially if that is listed in the posting. P&L, contracts and negotiations, sales forecasting. These are just examples. There are hundreds of others, of course, and you would want to use ones that are industry specific. Okay, then after your expertise section, you could create a technical skills section. Again, industry specific and pulled directly from the posting. So this particular person was a technical writer and was starting to do some web design on the side as well. So technical skills speak to her industry. You'll also notice on this example that that is in blue because that matched her personality and the industry that she was applying for. Okay, so pulling all of those pieces together, this is what a header could possibly look like. So this person is a CEO entrepreneur. That here's their customized LinkedIn URL, their email address, and their phone number. Then this is their summary statement. Again, who is this person? What have they done? Who have they done it for? And what are they known for? Okay, and then professional expertise. Okay, so this is the top third, what I call the header of a 2019 resume. Okay, resume tip number 4. Your bullets need to be accomplishment and results focused, and they need to read specifically to you. Again, too often we have a tendency to speak in generalities about ourselves, and because we don't want to come across as doing too much self-promotion, or maybe we're afraid of bragging. And I always advise people that the resume is absolutely no place to be humble, and you should brag because it is your opportunity to tell your career story to the person who's doing the reading. So some examples, you'll notice that I highlighted specific parts. When you actually write your document, you shouldn't bold these pieces. I did that for our time here together this afternoon. But you'll notice that these bullets are packed with action verbs and with specific data. Okay, designed and implemented 4 new landing pages that had 89,000 leads submitted, generating 9.7 million in revenue. Okay, recovered and re-engineered. SAP, okay, keyword right there. Created and led initiatives. Okay, that reduced companies' cost by 50%, which equaled, that's the equivalent of a savings of 300 million. Okay, so very detailed and very specific to the person who did them. Okay, other examples. On this particular one, the 3 is a numeral and not written out. It's actually okay to do it like this as long as you're consistent throughout the document. Okay, so again, what did they do and what was the result? So when you are writing your bullets, and for those of you who have a document already, you can use this checklist to go back into your document and make sure that each bullet meets these criteria, that they are action-oriented, you're leading with verbs, they demonstrate results, they are specific and concise. Okay, some quick no-nos. Unusual heading titles. So instead of work experience or professional experience, sometimes we're tempted to say projects I've been working on or cool opportunities that I've been a part of. The problem with that kind of a format is that's not going to get picked up by the ATS because it's not specific enough. So you want to go with pretty generic headings to make sure that you're getting past the system. You want to beware of templates. They look beautiful visually, and templates, I think, are okay to physically hand in to someone, but a lot of them are full of charts and graphics that won't easily get picked up by the screening software. I would beware of photos. Very, very common for European CVs to include a photo. That is not common practice domestically in the United States. So I would advise you to not have a photo on your resume. That actually is what LinkedIn is for. And you absolutely need a photo on LinkedIn. You want to be careful again of charts and graphics because they are not easily picked up by the tracking system. Colors should be used sparingly. I think they are totally appropriate for certain industries. But if you are a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, probably not the best decision to have blue or purple on your resume. And of course, you always want to make sure that you are editing and proofreading your document and checking for typos. The best way actually to find typos is to read your document backwards. So to start at page 2 or 3 and read from right to left. Okay, before we move on, John, if you could see if there are any questions specifically to resumes before we jump into cover letters.
Sure, there are 2 questions. One of them was around why do you not recommend highlighting keywords?
Because if you have too much highlighting or bolded, it will get really distracting and then not as visually pleasing to the eye. And also because I suggest that you bold the headings and your name.
So to help keep the flow of your eye as you're looking through the document.
Correct. Yep. Because remember, you get about 6 to 8 seconds of the visual scan, and there's actually there's research that demonstrates how people are actually visually reading them, and it's really hot up on the top left, and then it actually zigzags down like on a right-hand side column and then back over to the bottom left.
Wonderful. And so speaking of resumes and customizing resumes, how do you deal with LinkedIn when you're customizing and tailoring your resume for multiple jobs, but you only have one LinkedIn profile?
Yes. Yeah, great question. Thank you. Yep. So what I tell, how I advise clients is LinkedIn is autobiography, and we will get to that actually. So LinkedIn is an opportunity for you to be more narrative. I actually advise people that on LinkedIn, first person is okay there. LinkedIn is autobiography. It is longer form. It is narrative. A resume is memoir, and that is a specific window into a period of time. And again, really, really tailored to the position that you are applying for. And LinkedIn it does that as well, and they speak to each other. And there should be consistency across the platforms, especially with dates and timelines and titles, but they serve different purposes.
Wonderful, thank you. That's all the questions we had right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, John. All right, so moving along then to cover letters. Yes, you need a cover letter. It is your pitch to the organization. It is an opportunity to make a direct connection between you and the role that you are seeking. It demonstrates your willingness to do more, your attention to detail, and is especially important for advancement or industry changing. So cover letters are snowflakes. Yes, you need one. And snowflake meaning each one is unique. So you should have a cover letter template, which I'll show you next, but absolutely must be customized to the role that you are applying for. Again, you absolutely have to have it if the posting asks for one, and you should submit a cover letter if you are changing industries or you are seeking a promotion or advancement. I really advise clients to keep their cover letter to 1 page. 1.5 pages, maybe 1 3/4 is okay if you are truly in a senior level role or applying for a C-suite position. Okay, so here is a very brief example of a cover letter template. So again, one page, approximately 3 paragraphs. In that opening paragraph, you need to be specific in terms of what position you are seeking. And then the formula is present, past, future. And this is actually a formula for an interview answer as well. You briefly discuss what you're doing currently, what you have done in the role prior to that, and then how those two pieces relate to the future and the role that you are seeking right now. So present, past, future. The middle paragraph is where you really drill down into the specifics and how they are directly tied to the position that you are seeking. And this can be bullets. If you choose to use bullets, I would advise at least 3 and no more than 5. And to start that middle paragraph with a statement like key accomplishments from my career that are directly related to this posting include, and then list your bullets. If you do use bullets, they need to, again, be very, very specific and accomplishment focused. So you wouldn't have a bullet that says, I'm a hard worker, or I have incredible attention to detail. I'm sure that you do, but that's not the purpose of this space. You really want to draw the reader's eye and attention directly to you as the difference maker. Okay, and then the closing third paragraph, you would spend that time indicating your confidence in your ability to meet their needs, to talk about confidence in the match between your skills and experience and what they're looking for, and then reiterate how they can reach you. At the top of your cover letter, you actually want to use the header from your resume onto the cover letter as well. Okay. John, could you see if there are any cover letter questions before we moved on to LinkedIn?
No, I think we're good to go.
Okay, great, thank you. So if you could launch poll 5, please. And for those of you participants, please tell us where you are on LinkedIn.
Well, I'll tell you, we've got a couple of experts here because we've got a lot of folks who feel like their LinkedIn statuses are fully populated with photos,
Awesome.
and then working our way down from there.
Okay, great. Good for you. Yes, fantastic.
And just a reminder, if you have questions about LinkedIn as we talk through this section, please go ahead and enter them into the chat box.
Great, thanks, John. So why does LinkedIn matter? LinkedIn is digital networking, and it is a platform where you can add value and contribute to conversations. And you do that by following people, companies, and or hashtags. And as I indicated earlier, LinkedIn is the space, the digital space, for you to tell more narrative of your story. So for example, on my LinkedIn profile, before I started my company, Sheldrake Consulting, I worked in higher education for 18 years, and I have that information on there. And I have a few brief bullets under my roles that are pretty far back in my career, but they are on there because it's part of my story and it explains how I got to where I am today. LinkedIn, like any other platform, is as useful as you make it. If you are not participating on it, then you might not see as much return on investment. But if you are out there actively networking and using the tool, then it will be useful and yield. Okay, so we already talked about how to customize your URL. The thing with LinkedIn, as is really any other platform, if you are on it, you need to be on it. And so your profile needs to be fully populated. And it looked like a lot of you are there already, which is great. You absolutely must have a photo. Your photo should be just you, and if possible, not a selfie. It's also really obvious when someone else is in your photo and you have cropped them out. So you want to try to have it just you looking straight at the camera, and no sunglasses or hats. On LinkedIn, you want to make your headline more of a statement. Like the URL, LinkedIn will default to pulling from your current position, and that's just your title. You can manually go into that headline and make it more of a brand or purpose statement. And you get, pretty sure it's 200 characters to do that. The summary, again, like your cover letter, should be a mix of present, past, and future. And this is where you can tell your story, what you've done, and what you are looking for. And LinkedIn is autobiography. A reason to be on LinkedIn and to have a fully populated profile is because you can apply for some roles directly from LinkedIn and bypass the resume process. But if you do that, the system will make your resume from whatever information you have on LinkedIn. So you need to make sure that your profile is complete. Also important on LinkedIn is to give colleagues skills and endorsements, and then also to ask for them from colleagues as well, and then to give and ask for recommendations. I always advise that you should have 3 to 5 recommendations, and that they should be from a former supervisor, coworkers, or people who are at the same level as you at the organization, and then someone that you have supervised if possible. So 3 to 5 total. A LinkedIn should absolutely be part of your job searching strategy. It is digital networking. So I won't tell you how old I am chronologically, but I did have to go to networking events previously and hand out a business card and then staple it into a Rolodex. Those events certainly still happen, of course, and you absolutely should go to those. But LinkedIn is making even more of those conversations possible in the digital space. Okay. When John and I were talking about this webinar, he shared with me that there are 52,000 Brandeis alumni and that 40,000 of them are already active on LinkedIn. So that is a built-in network for you already there. LinkedIn is also a space where you can participate in groups, you can follow people, and you can and should be reading their postings, liking them, and commenting on them. Other parts of your searching strategy should include any kind of community organization or volunteer role that you have participated in the past or that you are currently in. So a church, a synagogue, perhaps you are on the board of an organization, you maybe have volunteered when you were an undergrad at Brandeis. Any one of those groups that you are a part of are potential networking opportunities that you should be pursuing. And then in addition to LinkedIn, other tools that you should be utilizing in your search include Glassdoor, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, and Monster. And that is the formal end of my slides, and it looks like we have lots of time for questions, which is great.
Yeah, we've got a couple that have already come in, but if you have other questions, please use the chat box there to ask them of Monica, and we can address them. One of the ones that came in earlier, if we could go back to talking about how we create a LinkedIn profile, and you mentioned sort of age and age of networking. What's your recommendations for addressing or talking about how to work with people who might be concerned about age discrimination when putting their photo onto LinkedIn?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, it's real. Ageism does happen. Of course, it's illegal and unethical, but it is out there. I still advise clients to go for it, and that you should have a photo. And what I try to do is help clients see their seniority as an asset, and then to pitch it that way, so that your headline and your summary read about the benefit that you bring to an organization, that you have, I wouldn't necessarily use the word senior. You certainly can. I know senior is also very common in the engineering space. It's even part of job titles sometimes. But to really talk about the expansiveness of your experience, what you've seen, whether you've worked across multiple industries or verticals, and to really use that space to demonstrate that your seniority is an asset to the organization because you've seen a lot and you are a quick learner.
I agree, and I think in some ways, actually, having your photo and being able to put that on LinkedIn actually really helps the process a little bit, because it removes any of the surprise somebody might have later on, and
Yes.
you can really more target those positions that are looking for someone who would bring a lot of experience into the position.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. Totally agree, John. Thanks.
A couple other questions about LinkedIn as we're looking at it, and just a reminder to folks, and we'll put this up as our last slide, but after the webinar, you'll be able to get a copy of all of the slides as well as watch a recording of the webinar by going to the alumni website. And so it's the Brandeis alumni website where you can see also an archive of all of our webinars that we produce for people. And you can see they're organized in there by category. Another question that had come in for someone, and I was wondering what you think about the value of using LinkedIn Premium in a job search.
Yeah, honestly, I've heard both, truthfully. I've heard some clients indicate it was absolutely worth it, and then others not so much. I'm pretty sure that it's still free for the first 30 days. So I would suggest using that free trial to see what the yield is, and then making a decision after that. I personally am on LinkedIn Premium because that's how I'm promoting my business and how I'm helping clients. But again, it's what you put into it. So if you pay for the premium and then don't do anything after, then the yield won't be there. So I really think, honestly, it's where you are in your career and how much time and money you have to invest in it as a tool.
And I would say, just if I could chime in, for the most part, you generally don't need the premium services of LinkedIn to be able to access most of the networking features that you're going to need for a job search.
Correct. Yep.
So I wouldn't call it a requirement.
Right. Absolutely not. Yeah. The value of the premium feature is it gives you more opportunity to see who has seen you. And there are a couple more analytic insights that it gives you, but you're absolutely correct in terms of networking and joining groups and finding people. You don't need premium to do that.
And there have been a couple of questions about LinkedIn. I just want to point out on both the Hyatt Career Center website, the alumni site, as well as the LinkedIn website, there's a really good help section which goes into some nice detail about how to utilize LinkedIn, particularly for job seekers. And so someone had asked about, can you change the settings on seeing who follows you? Absolutely.
Yep.
So you can decide how much you want to share for that.
Yep, absolutely.
And as we're looking at kind of crafting headlines, I was wondering if you had recommendations for someone who is currently job seeking. How do you recommend that they structure a LinkedIn headline?
Yeah, great. Thank you for the question. Before that, I just wanted to make sure we addressed the previous question. On LinkedIn, you can also indicate if you want people to find you and if you want them to know that you are actively searching.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that that button is on. Yeah, how to craft a headline if you are actively searching. I personally really want that statement to read very specific and unique to you and to your value add. So you have, I'm pretty sure it's 200 characters, including spaces. So not a whole lot of space. But if you were in an elevator with your ideal employer, what would you want them to know about you? What's the difference that you bring? What's the John effect? What's the John impact? What's the Monica difference? So you'd want to pack that with action verbs, descriptors. Um, I personally don't advise clients to put actively seeking in the headline um, because I think it's a waste of that prime real estate. But so you'd want to really make it a power statement. So I think mine says something like I help career changers or job seekers and career changers find and tell their stories. So it's totally okay to speak about yourself in first person and to talk about the difference that you make.
Wonderful. I think that, you can look for those other examples as well for folks, but I agree.
Absolutely.
I generally don't like to put in that you're job seeking right in the headline.
Right, because you want to, and with the resume too, it's the whole package, right? The resume, cover letter, LinkedIn. You want people to learn more about you. So you want them to stay on your page and keep reading. And if the first thing that you say is, I'm looking for a job, you just want to be careful that you don't come across as desperate or only capable of one note, right? You want to use it to create a robust picture of who you are.
And this next question, I think, might apply for a number of our participants today. When looking at the dates for employment or for education, if you are a later career job seeker, at what point do you stop putting down dates for education?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, great question. I don't have a hard and fast rule about when. I would say more generally when you have when you are to a point in your career where your experience matters more than the degree that you earned. So for example, on my own documents, my education is listed at the bottom of page 2 without dates. If you are a newer grad or you just recently earned a degree, perhaps a master's or a doctorate, then I put those at the top with dates. So I don't have a hard and fast formula, but I would say 10 plus years out probably is when you can start to put information on there, but without the date.
And similarly, because there isn't a hard and fast rule about it, not putting your dates on is sort of a key indication to someone that you graduated many years ago.
Yep. Yes.
And it only invites people to wonder or ask the question.
Right. Why don't you have a date on there? Yeah.
Right. And so in some ways, putting it on there just answers that question. But this goes back to the networking piece of why that's so important. If you are concerned about the dates or about ageism when you're, doing your search, you tend to have more success using the networking than only relying on the resume as a way to get your foot in the door.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there comes a point in everyone's life where your chronological age and your experience are going to get you the job. It's very rare that you're just going to blindly apply for a position that you found and then get it, right? It's the combination of people knowing you and your reputation, knowing that you're searching, and they have come to rely on you as someone who contributes to the conversation. So it's all of those pieces together.
Mm-hmm. Thinking of the resume piece and going back to that, someone else had a question about specific recommendations for federal government resumes or applying to USA jobs.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. So federal resumes are a very unique beast. They, quite honestly, a lot of the rules don't apply to a federal resume. They are usually much, much longer because, quite honestly, it's a lot of repetitive information. And so a lot of times they actually end up being skills-based or strengths-based resumes as opposed to a traditional resume that's in reverse chronological order. And there is, of course, I can't think of the name of it right now. John, you might know, but there is a great website out there that has good examples of how to make your resume a federal government resume.
Yeah, there are a couple that are out there, and actually USA Jobs has a nice section on
Thank you.
preparing
Yep.
people to how to craft their resume for that resume application process. But similar to what Monica was talking about, the USA Jobs website uses a similar ATS program to help
Yes.
it sort and sift through. You can imagine the volume of applicants that they get.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yep. It's still an ATS. Thank you, John, for pointing that out. Yep. But the format is different than a traditional resume.
Mm-hmm. Any other additional questions for Monica as we start to wrap up here? So this might be a larger type of question to ask, but what do you do when you haven't been keeping track of all of the data and the experiences that you've had 10, 15 years ago?
Oh,
How do you
yeah.
sit down and recall all the work that you've been doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And a word of advice too for people who maybe aren't that far out yet is your resume is a living, breathing, dynamic document. And so hopefully you are keeping track of those things. Suggestions that I have are to really actually to sit down, to carve out time, to sit down and just write it all out. And to write it out first and then worry about making it sound, resume fancy. A good strategy too is to talk to colleagues and to talk to, if hopefully you have relationships with former supervisors, and to ask, so what did I do? What do you remember about what I contributed to the team, to the project at that time?
And I think that's a nice transition to talk about some of the resources available to alumni in particular. As you're trying to recall these things, sitting down with someone who can help you by asking questions about the process is really a useful tool.
Yep, absolutely. And and even talking to partners and spouses and friends, because they'll remember pieces that you don't. And again, it's better to just get it all out there and write it all down and then to translate it to the resume. And not every single thing that you did can be quantified, and that's okay. But if it can be quantified with metrics, then you should.
Great. Any other pieces to add before we wrap up today, Monica?
No, well, guess I would just say as a final note is to be confident. So much of what I do, and John, I'm sure what you do as well, is helping people find their voice and to get confident in what they've accomplished. Again, we have a tendency to downplay what we've done, and in the job search process and a transition process, it's really not the time to be humble. It is totally okay to promote yourself and to back up that promotion with data and with story from your career. So be confident. I can absolutely say that you have done more than you think that you have, and that it's okay to talk about that in the process.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Monica. This has been very helpful and very insightful for me and hopefully for the rest of the panelists who were joining us today.
Well, thanks for the invitation. It was great to be here.
As we wrap up, we're going to have a satisfaction survey for you, and we really do hope that you will fill that out because that helps inform our practice of these webinars. You can take a look. Our next webinar is Friday, May 3rd, Transform Your Career with Design Thinking. So we're going to be thinking more broadly about how do we take those next steps. And as always, if you're a Brandeis undergraduate student or alumni, you can schedule a free one-on-one appointment with one of our staff. We have appointments in person, via phone, or via Skype, and you can call our office number there. That's the best way to get connected. And next week, this webinar will be up online along with the slides if you'd like to go back and review or look at different parts of it. So thank you all very much, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, John.